What's going on, Steelers Nation? Man, what a 48-hour period. Just jumping on here to give kind of some instant reaction thoughts to the Steelers making a big signing, arguably their biggest in franchise history. They just signed former Ravens linebacker Patrick Queen. Going to give you my thoughts on Queen as a player and just kind of what this move means for the defense, what it means going forward. Yeah, so Patrick Queen, man, former first round pick, taking a guy from Baltimore. He struggled early in his career over the first two seasons under Wink Martindale. And then over the past two seasons, really since they've acquired Roquan Smith, Queen's taken his game to a completely different level, like a true difference maker at the second level. And I think when you look at Queen, the things that really stand out are things that we talked about kind of through the free agency series, right? Like we talked about them needing to get faster in the back end, in the back seven. Patrick Queen provides that. This dude is explosive as all get out, very fast, sideline to sideline, can cover multiple gaps at a time. Excellent on the perimeter, an excellent blitzer. You just go back to some of the combine numbers, 4.5 flat 40. He had a 1.5, 10-yard split. This dude's sudden. He's explosive. Some of the ways that Baltimore used him was really creative too. A lot of mugged up looks under Wink, obviously, but some of those sim pressures that Mike McDonald's kind of known for took advantage of his specialty really as a blitzer, getting him downhill. He's excellent on games, stunts, things like that. Shout out to my guy Spencer because he's given me some invaluable information on Queen, just some of the background stuff that I was kind of curious about before I really, really dive into his tape and get a deep dive on what he is as of this point as a player. But it's important to note Queen's only 24 years old. He doesn't turn 25 until right before the season starts. And I know a lot of people are probably, familiar with, his slow start to his career. And I wanted to kind of ask a little bit about that, what led to that. First off, he only had a handful of starts at LSU before he was first round pick for Baltimore. Okay. He came out in 2020. It seems like they picked him because they thought that he was going to be a top 10 pick if he ended up returning to school and entering the draft next year. That's the type of potential that they thought he had. And he made them look good on that, on that call. He ended up being a Pro Bowler last season, had the best year of his career, has really developed into a really nice player. Really since Mike McDonald came on, the dude's just been able to weaponize his speed, man. He's playing a lot faster. One of the concerns that I remember from early in his career, just from like scouting him when the Steelers would play the Ravens, was I thought his eyes are really inconsistent from a processing standpoint. From what I've heard, that's improved. It seemed like it was improved last year. I mean, this dude was consistently around the ball. Talk about, again, having that speed to run with tight ends, to make some plays in coverage. I think back to that interception that he had on Trubisky. I think it was 2 years ago. He's dropping into man or into zone coverage, kind of getting his eyes back, his vision back on the quarterback, sinks under, ends up picking the ball off over the middle of the field. Extremely impressive play. But this is exactly the type of player that I was kind of envisioning. I just didn't know. We talked about them probably making one splash signing. I thought that they would, break the record. James Daniels was the previous highest free agent signing they've ever made at like 9 million per year. Queen, 3 years, 41 million. That's a good chunk over that. Still waiting on to see the guarantees. That's the real money. That's really what matters. But this is, the biggest financial really investment that they've ever made in a player on the open market. And, not only does it make Baltimore weaker on the surface because you're taking, one of their best players on the defensive side of the ball and adding it to your group, but I'm just really excited about the potential of what this dude could be. The slow start and stuff will be talked about a lot. I feel like over the course of the next couple days, next couple months. But it's important to note that when you're signing a 24-year-old in free agency, really any free agent, you're not just paying them for what they've been, you're paying them for what they're going to be. And I think that that's really important to like contextualize. The Steelers aren't paying Patrick Queen this amount of money because he's been a good player in Baltimore. They're paying him this amount of money because they think he can be a great player in Pittsburgh. And I think that that's a realistic possibility, even if you're, someone who doesn't necessarily view inside linebacker as a quote unquote premier position. This dude has 3-down capability. You do not have to take him off the field. Like I said, he's an excellent communicator on passing downs, getting guys into the right spot, into the right gaps, excellent on blitzes. You just have to really know how to use him. And I think that, he's really improved, playing to his full speed potential. This dude, like one of the things I've always noticed about him is, check downs, things underneath, those yak opportunities for the backs or for receivers, in third and long situations where they would normally go for like 7, 8 yards. With Queen in the middle, they go for 2 or 3 yards because he can close so fast. He's so sudden. He's gotten better at taking on blocks. He's been able to put on some weight, which has been really important to him, helping him gain a little bit of play strength to, kind of couple with that athleticism. And, there's been some really cool, just back and forth between him and Mike Tomlin. I'll kind of read you guys some quotes on what Tomlin said about him before their last matchup. On the defensive side of the ball, man, they're just really getting after people. It starts with the inside linebacker tandem of Roquan and Patrick. They're a tandem of all circumstances, good in the run game, downhill, or on the perimeter. They're good in the passing game, whether it's coverage or blitzers, or as rushers. They're a catalyst for a lot that goes on with that group. So I think that was a really big thing for, a lot of people were predicting that Queen was going to go to Seattle, especially after Jordan Brooks left, because he's been such a weapon for Mike McDonald, and he's played his best football really since McDonald got named the defensive coordinator. Spencer, my guy on Twitter, told me that, his proudest moment really was, Mike McDonald being named the defensive coordinator because he was able to take him to a completely different level. And, now the Steelers are going to reap the benefits of that. So I'm really excited to see what the tape says. Like I said, it was a little bit different with Russ. I was able to come on here and give, just incredibly detailed stuff because I'd watched so much Russell Wilson film. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the film room on him on the channel. If you haven't already checked out the Russ film room, do me a favor, go check that out, like, subscribe, do the same to this video. It allows me to bring more content to you guys. I'm going to try to have my thoughts on all the different free agent moves that they make really throughout the course of free agency, especially over the first week, because I think that that's really where we're going to see the most moves. But I like it, man. I'm not really sure what this type of move, because it's an investment. I'm not really sure what it means for like the health of Cole Holcomb, but I do think just with the Landon Roberts, the way that he plays, the way that he can take on blocks, fit gaps, especially against those more man downhill heavy scheme stuff that I feel like Baltimore and Queen in particular struggled more so with than zone. I think Roberts is a really good complement to that because he is a stack and shed guy. He's a guy who's like an old school thumper. And when you look at who Baltimore just brought into the division, none other than King Henry, who's still playing at a really high level. He might not still be the peak Derrick Henry that we were, accustomed to seeing when he was with Arthur Smith. But you talk about Baltimore, we know they're going to run the ball. We know they're going to be a power heavy team. They're going to run a lot of gap, a lot of counter, get downhill, run the ball down your throat. Steelers bringing in a dude who has no problem fitting that stuff with physicality, using his speed to get downhill. I'm really excited about the potential for this. I mean, when you talk about adding this type of player with this type of upside to a defense that already has TJ Watt, Mika Fitzpatrick, I mean, Alex Highsmith, still Cam Hayward, you got him for another year. It's going to be fun, man. I mean, there's no excuse for the defense to not be one of the best units in the entire NFL. I mean, if that doesn't happen and everybody remains healthy, I think it would be a pretty massive disappointment. So if you're going to go cheap at the quarterback position, which is basically what they've done, this is the route, man. You build just kind of this steel curtain kind of defense where you just don't let anybody score any points. But the biggest thing for me, just want to reiterate, is this the speed on the back end. I felt like when they struggled last year, it was overwhelmingly evident that it was because they were not fast enough on the back end. And I talked about it on Twitter, on the YouTube channel, all that stuff, wrote about it. Really just happy that they got some speed on the back end. I'm really excited to dive into Queen's film. I will report back with what I find. Let me know if you guys want a film room on Patrick Queen. I can't promise that I can turn it around as quick because I'm incredibly busy right now, but I will try to, first thing I'm doing as soon as I upload this video, I'm going to go to the film room, get all that stuff. I'll have much more detailed stuff to give you guys, and I'm excited about that. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see if the Steelers make any big moves. I might be back on here later today, but I'll holler at y'all. Peace and love.